Hello, guys, welcome to Purple Corner. How are you doing? Today we are having the part 2 of how I made March and Cupid. So, if you haven't seen the part 1, please go watch it so you're in the context and let's get right into it. Once everything was finally prepared, I could get animating. This time I was making the backgrounds the same time as I was making the animation. I also did a whole bunch of research on animation and how to make it the most efficient, considering that I'm the only animator working on it. I was heavily inspired by how animes are made and how they save up a lot of frames. Number one, they're only made around 15 frames per second. And number two, they use many factors how to kind of, I would say, make it easy on themselves with the animation. For example, sometimes we hear a character talking, but their back is facing the camera, so that way you don't really need to animate their mouth talking. Something similar was used in this animation where there's the manager talking, but the camera is zoomed in on March, so you don't actually need to animate the mouth movement. Also, many of the frames were recycled because when your character is just talking and blinking, you need only multiple frames for the eyes blink and also for the mouth. There's only so many shapes your mouth can have at once. So that was the way that I was making it easy on myself also. I think the backgrounds took a lot of time because I wanted to make them quite detailed, not as, I don't know, some 2019 animation. And I wanted the backgrounds to be also part of the storytelling and to really tell you about the whole situation. So, number one, you can see that they're sitting in an office. At first, it's just a table. You're thinking, seems pretty nice. And then, when there's like the zoom out, you can actually see that it's just some sort of cleanup closet, so it's not really a nice place to be having an interview. Then you're taking into the dark hallway, and all you can see is just the freezer door and then the door frame for the break room. But I just had a lot of fun with making this, just making the little sign that says very clumsily break room sticked on by the adhesive tape, but very poorly, and I feel like there's still a piece of tape sticking to there. They didn't even bother cutting it off to make it look like an actual break room. So it's just like the tiny details, and I didn't get to show the shots of the store yet because honestly, there's this. If you're making a supermarket, there's so many details you can add that actually just kind of takes forever to draw everything. And I was legit going to the mini markets around the city to check out what can they put in this aisle, because you have a bunch of aisles and then you're thinking, okay, this is gonna be like the drinks aisle and this is gonna be the sweets aisle, and they're gonna have the fridges in the back where they keep their cold drinks and their refrigerated goods and their popsicles and stuff like that. So I was thinking way too much about it. For the part that is actually created, I was mostly studying the movement of the characters. Like, yes, the background took a while, but I think the characters really took the most of it. Although I was trying to use some tactics to make it easier on myself, it still wasn't that simple because I was using this sort of smudge method. Basically, the faster the character moves, the more the hand is like smudged, so it's not just like the same every single frame, but it gets kind of prolonged, it gets like fatter and thicker. So every frame had to be like different with every movement, and I was also researching some like hand gestures, so you can see March just gesturing quite a lot while in this shot it does this and he does this, and he does this and stuff. I was just studying the movement, and if you wonder how, I was sitting at home on my bed and I was doing this the whole that time. I was like, so you can kind of see that there's this sort of motion build up, then there's like the speed part, and then there is slow down once again. And that's what I was just kind of doing to figure out how to make it look the most natural, with obviously some cartoony looks and some exaggerations as well. And then when I had like the basic movements down, I started adding the details, like the facial details. For the manager, it is actually very simple because his eyes and his eyebrows aren't actually like sticking to the face. They're kind of overlapping with the actual face frame. For March, it was a little bit complicated because they are in the frame of the face, but also not the most complicated. Studying the mouth, it's just kind of tough. You have all these kind of drawings of how do you make the face or the mouth move with certain vocals, and there's like hundreds of them on the internet, and I never found any of them accurate. And so it was like staring into the mirror, and it was like, hello, my name is, and you literally look at your mouth and how it's moving, and you get inspired from that. And then I had my own sort of uh, cheat sheet of what shapes the mouth should make, because like everyone is like, oh, he's making oh, so it's gonna be oh, but it's like oh, or like it's also different for different words and different pronunciations. So it doesn't really work like that. But I think that the lip syncing was pretty nailed, but it also took forever. Generally, the animation wasn't too bad. I think I had just a lot of fun animating it. And every time I'm making something, my deadline is like pushing me so hard. Like, I had to submit it, and I was like, well, I can't just leave it at this. Like, it's leading up to something. I have to. It's a filmmaking class, not an animation class. So I have to show some kind of story. I have to show some kind of story progression, and I have to show at least the basic twist of what is happening. So I wanted to at least finish the first, like, let's say, sequence the first day at the interview, and they're going through the shop, or at least the back rooms, and then they find the mystical door, and it's like what it is. And I think I want to remake it in the future for sure, but I don't want to be pushed by any deadlines, or at least have less limitations with the deadline than I had back then, because the build up was also supposed to be much longer. And this is just the build up, it's just the pilot episode. So I think the chat in the storage room or in the closet was pretty sufficient. But once the day ends and the manager tells March not to actually go into this door, the build up is supposed to be much longer. Not only he's supposed to like spend some time around the store, maybe it's his like first day on the job, but still he first like sits at the counter, maybe does some restocking. I want to show these like little wholesome scenes where he's just pushing the cart like this, and bringing some restocks, and then he like needs the stool everywhere, so he just puts down the stool to climb the top shelves or something. It's just the small details like this to kind of tell you more about the character and kind of get you closer to him. This was like a really time jump to the point that he was told not to go there, and immediately he was like, well, I'm gonna go there, what's the worst thing that can happen? There needs to be more build up and to really show how bored March is at the store, because it's like this sort of supermarket at the edge of the town. It's really like more of a mini market than anything. It hardly gets any customers. I think at first it was also supposed to be more like a gas station, but I kind of stepped down because I can't draw cars. So, in the conclusion, I think this animation actually has like so much potential, but I crashed so hard at the voice acting part, at the screenwriting part, because I just cannot make the conversations sound as natural. I hardly have any experience writing screenplays for animated shorts. I find it often the hardest part. Like I had maybe 2 or 3 animated series planning, and I was actually writing the screenplays for them, and I was struggling. Like I had, to the point, figured out the whole world building and everything. I had the characters designed. I knew exactly what their characteristics would be, their personality and everything. But I just couldn't imagine myself talking as these characters, which I think is important when you're writing a character and you're making them have a conversation with other characters. It often seems like my conversations just lead to nowhere. So even for March and Cupid, I would probably have to revisit the old screenplay and change some things up, or maybe hire someone professional to tell me how awful it is. Because, well, this part, there's not much you can mess up with the screenplay, as much as it's only like an interview, and obviously it's a low level job which hardly has any requirements for the interview. So they're just chatting up. Still think maybe it's the first line is kind of stupid, but I thought it was like a cool introduction for the character where he's like, "Hi, my name is March, and I need to pay rent, so I'm getting this job." I mean, definitely relatable. And what I would probably stupidly say at an interview, but you kind of get the base idea of what this character is and what he's working with, and the manager is just sort of there to introduce the whole story and introduce our character to the main plot twist. And he doesn't really have any special characteristics. Even his design is made to be like really generic. I just went with blue color because I feel like blue is often like considered sleepy color, so he's just kind of, that tired manager that doesn't have much energy for any conversation whatsoever. So he's just dealing with the hiring process, and just showing around. And I think that despite my friend Peter is not really a voice actor, he actually did a good job making a very generic character with the way he speaks, and with the way he sighs. He's like, so here's the closet.
So here's the freezer.
I think it fits the character, Like, I don't think the manager really needs anyone too professional. But for Mars, I just want him to be. I don't really know what I would expect for the voice actor to do. I just don't want it to be my voice, because every time you hear yourself, the main character is like, "Hi, my name is March. What is this door?" And you're like, "What the fuck?" And you're like, that's terrible. Like, nobody talks this way, But like the rest of the characters, I think were voiced great. The main problem is the audio was just terrible quality. The microphone was terrible. So if I ever do this in the future, I'm gonna tell the voice actor, either bring your microphone, or I'm just gonna borrow something really amazing for the recording. Generally, like, visually, it's great. About the audio design, not to mention the voice acting, but general audio design. The music is also some kind of free to place, so I had to tag them on YouTube. The intro is cute. I found it really cute that it's basically just like a start of a video game, almost like Pokemon or something. And it's just sort of simple. It doesn't really take too much time or anything. So I like the intro with the like gaming music almost. But then in the rest of the animation, like, at first there's no music, which is kind of fine. and then there's just some slight undertone in the hallway to make it like seem kind of ominous and creepy. Probably would also work on that. The sound effects is just these like free to use sound effects. So we have like the zoom on the door and you hear like the ominous ambiance or whatever, and then there's the light on, so it's like ding. That's pretty bad. And then also I used like the really high pitched sound in the end, which is supposed to be like this sort of like blinding foresight. It's almost like a flashbang, but I just made it way too loud. And when they were playing the presentation in my high school, it was just deafening to everyone, and everyone's like, "Ah, no, my ears!" So I would definitely either change it, make it quieter, or just take it out altogether. Animation, great, big potential. Voice editing, audio, I need to hire an editor and voice actors and so many people. Like, it's tough to do this alone and for free. For free, this is the best you can probably get, I would say. You know, it's like you download the free to play game, and this is the quality equivalent. I honestly really like it, except my voice in this whole animation. And I would love to work on it more, but it needs some edits. I would still call this like more of a sketch than a pilot. Just needs a lot of work, you know. It's not gonna be done for free, and it's not gonna be done as fast as I thought. So let me know what do you think of this animation, and let me know if you have any ideas or suggestions for future videos. I hope you enjoyed my crazy rant about why nothing ever works. If you did, please leave a like and please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!